Hey there parents, I want to have a chat with you around your kids' school reports. We had an amazing mum in my private groups or part of my online program. She asked a question this morning that there's been a lot of conversation going on in the comment threads, and I thought instead of going live in that group and making my answer exclusive for that group, I wanted to share my perspectives on this with everybody and make this a public video. So she had a situation where her daughter I think she's 8 years old, and she is feeling really disappointed with not only the grades that she got, but also surprised by the grades she's got. And so this mum was like, how do I talk to her about it? And I want to share with you today around how do you talk to your kids about their school reports in a way that builds their self-esteem and builds their resilience, as well as gives you an opportunity to plant all these really deep seeds in their subconscious mind to empower a really strong inner voice within inside your child that they can take with them for life. Because the issues that they experience as children around their school reports are the same issues that will repeat as cycles in their lives all the way through to adulthood. And many of you, I can guarantee, are probably dealing with these issues yourself. And part of the reason that you get trapped in these cycles is because of the belief systems and perspectives that were embedded in you as a child when you had some situations or some issues or challenges around your school reports, for example. So I want to share from that perspective. Now, I want to cover a couple of things here. And firstly, I want to start with this. Please, if you want to be a conscious parent, if you want to raise truly conscious, not just conscious children, conscious people that are really aligned in their own values and they live their life authentically and congruently, please do this one thing. And that is, don't ever give your children rewards for good reports, okay? And not even rewards for getting picked for the sporting team or getting picked for the music Stedford or something like that. And I want to share with you why. Because giving external rewards, whatever they might be, it might be, I'm going to give you $10 if you get an A, or it could be, you get to choose where the whole family goes out for dinner, or it could even be something like, oh wow, you got such a good grade, oh wow, let's go and call, grandma and let's tell her, and the reward is all this external validation and acknowledgement. Now, if you're someone that already does this, we'll have a conversation another time on how you go back and fix that and how you slowly stop doing that, because you can't just pull it away out of nowhere, because now it's gonna hit their self-worth, okay? Because they're using all these external factors to validate their self-worth in the first place. So that's a whole nother conversation. But here's why you never give rewards for reports. Because when you do that, you remove the intrinsic value from the achievement itself, okay? So what you do is you teach the child, originally, the child's fulfillment was coming from self-pride, from knowing I had done that, I achieved that, I focused, I was disciplined, I worked hard, I challenged myself, or I'm passionate about this topic and this is a really easy one for me, and my gifts flow out of me when I do this topic or this subject, and that's why I get these grades. And all of these feelings are our internal guidance system giving us validation on who we know we are. And then the parent comes along and we impose our own values on that, and we impose an external reward of some kind, and what it does is it removes that intrinsic value. So and I know you do it with the best intentions. I know we're just wanting to celebrate our kids, but here's what you do. You celebrate and you validate and you confirm and you magnify and you amplify what their experience. You don't need to add something else to it to make it better, because essentially and unintentionally what we're doing when we do that is we're saying all these feelings that you've got aren't enough for, that shouldn't be enough, you need more. And then we raise a whole generation of entitled people who truly can't self-validate anymore, and we teach them to become people pleasers and to look for external validation and external acknowledgement and confirmation to be able to determine whether or not we're enough. And when there's no one around to give us that feedback or give us that reward, we can't give it to ourselves. And where that ruins your life, let me tell you who that child becomes as an adult. They become the kind of adult, let's say for example, who finds a career that they love and they're good at. It challenges them and they do well at it, or maybe it comes natural and they're so good at it that they produce really good results. And in fact, they don't just produce really good results, they know that they are the best in the company at producing that result. They're better than all the other employees and all the other colleagues that they work with. But this person then, instead of just loving, knowing that that's the value that they offer and the value they bring to this company, and in return what they receive is this intrinsic value and intrinsic validation, instead that's not enough. This person now, instead of feeling fulfilled and excited and validated, instead we feel resentful, because now we believe that we should be given something for that we should get a pay rise, or we should get a bonus, or we should get a promotion, or somehow the company that we work for owes us something because we're one of their best employees. And so instead of just feeling good about what we can offer and what we bring and what we do with our lives, we feel resentful because we can't appreciate the fact that our value is enough. We need something in return externally, because the intrinsic value, we've been turned off to that. We've been programmed against that. And so please allow your children to thrive on the intrinsic value they get from their own personal achievements, and for what that says to them about themselves, without needing anyone from the outside to validate or confirm that that was enough. So that's the first thing. Secondly, when it comes to school reports, I believe you need to allow your child to lead the idea of looking at the report, or how much attention is given to a report. So if your child comes home and doesn't even mention their report, or they leave it in their school bag and don't even give it to you, let that be okay. You don't need to be, oh, you've got a report, come on, let's look at this. You don't have to do that. If your children's school reports are sent through, I know a lot of them are sent electronically now, I know ours are, it's okay to say to your child, oh, the school reports came through today, and leave it at that. Wait for your child to say, oh, what did I get? I want to see, what did I get? And if they have that response, great. Meet them in their experience. Don't try to drag them into your experience. And more importantly, parents, be aware of not placing your values and taking your values and imposing them on your child. That because this school report is so high on your values list and it's important to you, that it should be important to them, okay? Because they might feel real good about how they're doing everything in their life and how they're showing up at school and the effort they're making. And that's enough for them. They don't need to know someone else's opinion of them to confirm that what they're doing is enough necessarily, okay? So don't take your values, which I guarantee probably aren't even your values. They're also the values that you think are yours, but actually you were programmed with those values and you've bought in on those values thinking they're yours, which is probably the reason why you don't feel fulfilled in your life, because you think, oh, I'm ticking all the boxes. Why don't I feel like life is enough for me? Why don't I feel ecstatically alive? And half the time, more than half the time, it's because you're living values that do not belong to you. They were values you were programmed with, and you were taught, hey, this is who you should be, this is how you should feel, and this is who you should think, how you should think in order to be a good person. And because we want to be a good person, we adopt those values as though they are ours. But all it does is leave a big empty void, because they're not our soul's true values. They're not who we truly are. They're not reflective of that. And so we live a life trying to tick all these boxes. Meanwhile, we have this deep void that's never tended to, because those boxes are out of alignment with our soul's journey and our soul's path and our own values. So it's time that we break the cycle on this. These cycles have been repeating through generations forever, and it is time that as conscious parents we say, hey, this cycle stops with me. It doesn't go past me. I am not going to take my values and impose them on my child, but I am going to use the school report for an example. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to create a space for some real deep connected conversation with my child, and to get insight to who my child is, and to help guide them and provide them with a space where they can work out who they are. They can work out, is this important to me or is it not? Okay, so I'm going to go into it deeply. Now here's the other thing. it can be hard, particularly when you've got many children or more than one child, because let's say one child comes home with A's and truly is super excited, they've worked hard for that, they're proud of themselves, and you've got this other child that, like, let's say got C's and D's, and you absolutely want to celebrate this child over here that got the A, but without accidentally and unintentionally, without that becoming a standard that this child over here measures themselves by. And so they feel like they're not enough if they can't produce that. So again, what that comes back to is celebrating this child's experience, how this child feels about themselves, their pride in themselves, not celebrating the A. It's not about the A or the B or that you actually physically got on that sports team. It's the fact that you worked hard for that, you focused on that, you are proud of yourself, and this is your moment to shine. And we all get our chance to shine, and this just happens to be your moment. And then this child over here learns that, hey, this isn't my moment to shine, but that's okay. I can celebrate her in her moment to shine because I know my turn comes. But we're not shining. We're not using this as the shine doesn't come from the A. The shine comes from, I did something I'm proud of. I feel good about myself. And that's where we shine the light. So that's how you manage that. It's not about the A, it's about the fact that this child, it could have been a C that they got, it could have been a pass, they might have thought they were going to fail and they pass. Celebrate that just as much and in the same way as you celebrate the A or the B, okay? Because it's about the achievement that this child intrinsically is processing, regardless of what letter or what number or what grade comes with that. Now, let your child lead the conversation into reports. At the same time, if they don't lead that conversation, of course, you can go get their report and you can have a look at it, and then you need to decide whether this is even something that needs to be. If they're not showing interest in it, it's okay to never discuss that with them, ever. If it's not their value and they don't voluntarily want to engage with that, well then don't. But of course, there are some scenarios, particularly with older children, where you might see something in a report that you do want to discuss, or that you do want to just give your attention to, or you might be like, oh, that surprises me. I just want to see what's going on there. Maybe that child isn't feeling safe and comfortable in that class, or maybe they used to do well in that subject and now maybe they've lost their confidence or something. There could be a few things you want to discuss. So if you do feel the need to open a discussion around reports with your children, here's how you do it. You don't make it, you do it in a lighthearted, kind of very natural, comfortable way. You don't go, hey, I got your report today, we need to have a chat. Do not do it like that, all right? So what you do is go, hey, the report came through today. I had a bit of a squeeze over it. And yeah, how are you feeling about your schooling? I'd love to hear how you're feeling, not just about grades and work, but even just how you're feeling about your classes and your subjects. I'd love to have a chat with you about it, so maybe sometime after dinner tonight. Don't ever make them do it now. Let them know that it's coming, and never do it on the spot, so that they have no need to go into any kind of defense mechanism, or it's impossible for them to revert in their brain back to the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain goes into fight or flight response when it perceives a threat. I know that you might not intend to be a threat right now, you weren't intending, but if there's something sitting in the back of their mind that you might not be happy with something, they're going to perceive you as a threat. They're going to go into reptilian brain, fight or flight response, okay? So we want to have these kind of conversations where we can engage with the child in a way that we are activating their mammalian brain. So the mammalian brain is the part of our brain that is all to do with social connection. Okay, this is where our mammal behaviors. We're a herd mentality animal, and we want to be connected. And there is a social hierarchy and all of those things. And connection is the space we want to have this conversation in. So we want them in that part of the brain, but we cannot get them to that part of their brain if they're in fight or flight. And then obviously after mammalian brain, there's the neocortex, which is all to do with logic and, reasoning and things like that, which isn't even developed. I mean, it barely even, begins to develop until at least 10 or 12 years old. So having conversations like that, with a child under the age of 10 is even harder and needs to be taken a whole different way. But we'll talk about that another time, okay? So just mention that you want to have a conversation, and regardless of how you go about this, whether the child says, yeah, I want to see my report, or whether you've had to say, hey, I'd love to have a chat with you about some things. whichever way you enter this conversation, the way you start the conversation is by talking to the child about their opinion of themselves and their perspectives of school and subjects before we even bother considering the teacher's perspectives and opinions. And that's how I word it to my kids. Oh, well, let's see what this teacher's opinion is. Let's have a look at her perspectives, hey? Let's grade her on what her attitude and her filters seem to be as she perceives your experience as a human being in a school system, for example. Because ultimately, that's all reports are. They are nothing other than perceptions. They are a third party's perceptions. And that person is, yes, they might be trained to look out for certain things, but essentially what teachers are doing at any point in time is they are evaluating a piece of work or a behavior or a level of knowledge. They are evaluating it. And in order to evaluate something, we all make our evaluations through the filters of all of our own belief systems and all of our past experiences. So they can include our own triggers, our own traumas, our own perceptions of things, and of course our own training or knowledge or study that we've done is just another one of those filters. So the teacher looks at this piece of work and goes, oh, well, based on my judgment, when I judge this piece, when I look at this and I evaluate it through the filters of all of my experiences and my knowledge, when the information runs through those filters, here is my conclusion. But it is still only one person's opinion. It is not necessarily the reality of the experience. And this is what we need to teach to as kids. So a conversation I had with my daughter last year, so she had a bit of a struggle year at school last year, and she had a teacher that she wasn't very aligned with, and that she was challenging for her. He had certain ways of doing things, and he used control and force and anger and things like that to control his classroom, and it felt a bit unsafe for her to show up in her full expression. And anyway, when she got her school report, she was really disappointed with the grade. She had a couple of D's and some C's. And she, more importantly, she was crushed. She was gutted by the grade he gave her for her effort, where they give excellent, good, satisfactory, whatever it might be, needs to improve or whatever. And she said, Mum, it's okay that I'm not, I know maths is my challenge. I know that I've got my own gifts, and I know that my report doesn't say everything about who I am as a person. And I know math is my weak point, and I'm okay with that. I don't care that, that's my weakness. But I tried so hard, Mum, and he knows I did. And all term, he's been saying to me, oh, your effort is amazing, mate. I love your attitude. No matter how much you're challenged, you always take risks, and you always challenge yourself, and you always ask questions and all of this. And he had said the same thing to me in all of the parent-teacher interviews as well. So what really crushed her wasn't just the grade, is the fact that she didn't feel seen. And this is something I would encourage you all to offer the children. Now, I used an example with my daughter that related to her. So she was really big into gymnastics at the time, and so I used the gymnastics example. But if you're going to take this and use it in your own family, I do highly encourage you to see if you can find a metaphor or an analogy that would directly relate to your child and one of their interests, because if you're able to do that, they will absorb the message a whole lot deeper, and it will literally become part of the blueprint of their subconscious mind and the foundation that they build their sense of self from. And I said to her, let me give you an example, Miami. I said, so there's what you do, there's who you are, and then there is someone else's perception of you and their own evaluation and judgment of you. And the question here, well, is it you not putting in enough effort, or is he the one with the problem that has some blurry filters, and it's the perspectives that he chooses to see you through that's actually the problem here? And so the example I used with her is, I said, look, let me give you an example. Let's say you do a gymnastics competition. And when you do gymnastics, let's say you're doing a floor routine and you're in a competition and you've got 3 judges. And these 3 judges are all watching you do the same routine. So you do one routine one time, and then 3 people make their judgment. That's why they're called judges, because they're judging you. Okay, they're making their own personal evaluation of your performance. Now, let's say one judge gives you a 9, the other judge gives you an 8, and the third judge gives you a 6. Now, let me ask you something. What happened there? Are you a 6 or are you an 8 or a 9? Well, it depends on the perspective of the person that was judging you, because you know you only did one thing. Both of these judges agree that that was a level 8, 9 performance. But this judge somehow, she came up with the number 6. Why? What makes her say 6 when these others are say 8 or 9? You know what it is? It's her perspectives. It's her filters. So she saw that routine through a different filter to these judges. Now, before you even got your grade, when you finished that routine, you would have had a feeling inside yourself before you even looked at what the scores were. And your feeling might have been, oh, I know I made a couple of little stuff ups, but I reckon I might get a 7 or an 8. I'm hoping for at least a 7 or an 8. These two judges confirmed that for you. This judge said, I have a different opinion. That is all. But does that mean that you shouldn't feel like you did a level 8 performance? Do you believe this judge or do you believe those judges? The point is, you don't believe any. The point is, you believe yourself. And you take these ones as feedback. But in looking at that feedback, you also need to be able to decide and know where to put in your boundaries and go, okay, well, great. What could I have done to get a 9? Why did this judge think I was an 8? What could I have done to get a perfect score and get a 10? Where could I have improved or something like that? And then you look at this one and you go, well, do I even want her feedback? Because if you don't align with the filters that she judges through, is that feedback even going to be valuable to you? It's okay to go, do you know what? Your score doesn't even matter to me. I'm not even interested in how you came up with that score, because that score is a reflection of you more than it's a reflection of me. And this principle is the same with your school report. So it is just one teacher's opinion. And you know what? You know what school reports show me? It shows me the teacher's ability to teach. For me, when I look at a school report, it's a teacher's ability to teach. Because like what happened this term, she came home from school this week and had amazing grades, and her confidence is through the roof. She's got a different teacher. So we actually really explored that, and we talked about, okay, let's look at why you're doing so much better this year than what you were doing last year. How are you feeling about yourself? How do you feel as you sit down and do your math? How does your teacher engage with you? What kind of environment does your teacher to create? Is it okay to make mistakes in the classroom this year? Whereas last year you might have been in trouble, or you might have been, publicly exposed or something like that in front of your peers and whatever. So we discussed how all of those things play a role. And the reason I go into deep conversations, it's not about the report. The report is just a portal. It's just an opening to be able to discuss these life principles with our kids that they will take with them forever, okay? Forever. Sometimes the reason, somebody doesn't get chosen in an audition, 3 judges agreed, 1 didn't, but it has to be a unanimous decision. That doesn't mean you're not good enough. That means one person had a different perspective. And it also means maybe you do need some feedback. And this is where resilience comes in. So switching on to the resilience part of the conversation now. So once we know our children's self-esteem is intact, and this report is not a reflection of who you are, although there might be some discussions, we can talk about your attitude, your effort. Do you feel like you're putting in effort? I mean, your teacher's opinion is that he thinks your effort is satisfactory. What do you feel your effort is there? And this is why you have this conversation before you open the report. All right, how do you feel with this topic? What do you feel you've done? What do you feel you've done in effort? What do you feel your grades might be? Are you okay with that? Do you feel like, let's say if your grade's going to be below a C, let's say it's going to be a D or something, is that a reflection of your attitude, that you don't really care, you're not engaged, you're bored by that subject and you're okay with that? Is it a reflection that you're being challenged by that and maybe you just need some help or some support? Or maybe you are challenged but you don't care to get the support? And this is where it brings into the next life lesson of giving trusting our children with their own lives and giving them permission to make some of their own choices, okay? Something I share with my children is, our grades and more importantly our feelings around different subjects and what we care about and what we don't. That is all part of our internal guidance system. This is how our soul gives us guidance so that we know what path we're supposed to be on in life. When you aren't good at this subject and no matter how hard you try, you're not good at it and you don't really like it and you're not engaged and you hate it and you do it just because you have to, that's your soul saying, this is not your path. I can't let you be good at this, because if you be good at it, you might want to do more of it, but this is not your path. So I'm going to make sure your brain can't do things quite as good as someone else, or quite as good as what the grading, hierarchy is, so that you can't get a good grade, so that you know this is not your path. Now, sometimes we might be challenged by something that we love. Like, we love it and we want to be good at it, but it still challenges us. And other times we can do something so easily that we have no passion for. So we can't use grades as a way to know what we should be doing, because sometimes you might be naturally good at something that you really have no care for, but this thing over here that you really have to try with, you talk to your kids, let's say they play footy, and it's like, because often kids will compare themselves to their siblings, to their friends. I mean, society is built on comparison. We all compare ourselves to each other on social media all the time, right? So they might go, oh yeah, but this kid always gets picked for the team and he's so good and he barely even comes to training and he doesn't even try that hard and he's always mucking around and getting in trouble. But when we're on the field in the game, he's so good. But I try so hard. I go to every training. I do extra practice. I practice on weekends. I practice after school. And, I'm only just making the team. No matter how hard I try, I don't get the trophy at the end of the year. Now, this is an opportunity to be able to teach resilience and to be able to teach your children about the whole purpose of their human experience that they chose to come to, which is spiritual expansion. This is where your soul gains the expansion that it came for. You've got a passion to want to know this, or to be good at this, or to improve at this. Okay, you've got a passion for it, but you've got to work hard at it. And the passion is your soul saying, move in this direction. But the fact that it's challenging for you and it doesn't come easily, that provides you with the growth. And that's what your soul came here for. It didn't come here for things to be perfect and easy. So everybody has their own gifts, and everybody has skills and talents, and gifts are very separate to skills and talents. Skills and talents are learned behaviors. Okay, so a skill is something we basically practice over and over again, and we improve at. But gifts are something we're born with. It's a natural talent. It's the thing we barely even have to try, and it's kind of just part of the fabric of who we are. And so we talk about, where are you gifted, and where do you have some skills and talents? You're good at them, but you have to work at them. Okay, and as soon as you stop training, you lose it quickly. And then you use that to bring into a conversation around everyone's chance to shine. Okay, and you make it a thing. Like, I've said to my kids, one of the best things that I ever learned to do, that I'm so grateful that I learned and that I want you guys to take with you, is to give yourself permission to suck. Because we all go through life trying to avoid where we might suck, because we're embarrassed or humiliated or shamed by our failures, or by feeling less than. But if you give yourself permission to suck at something, you engage with life, you take risks, you do more, you explore more, you test the waters on new opportunities, because you don't need to be good at it. And it can be funny if you're not, and it's okay to suck at something. So even you can bring that attitude into reports and go, oh well, what's going on here? Oh, you got A, B, 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 C, 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 good, excellent. Over here, what happened here in Japanese? I mean, it doesn't matter to me if it doesn't matter. It's not about me. It's about whether or not it matters to you. But it's just interesting that this is the only spot where you got a satisfactory effort and you got a D grade. What's going on there? And, Miami, this is literally what happened last night. And Miami said to me, yeah, I suck at Japanese and I don't really care about it. And we've had discussions before. This is where you give your child permission to make their own decisions, and you need to trust them with their own lives. It is not your responsibility as a parent to govern every single choice they make and to guide every step of the way. We need to give them space to do that, because that's what gives them empowerment and self-esteem. So one of the discussions we've had, okay, let's say you've got a subject, let's say you got a D, okay, and what does that mean to you? First of all, does the D matter? Because it's okay for that to not matter to you, because you've got a decision to make. If you've got a D, let's say, a D or an E, you've got a decision to make. Do you want to put some focus into that and improve at that and bring that up? Is that an area that you want to invest your energy in? Or is that a subject that you are happy to get a D in because you don't like it, it's not aligned, you do it because you have to, and as long as you show up with a good enough attitude and you get the work done, you make a conscious choice that I'm not going to invest more of my energy into improving my weakness. Because when we invest our energy improving a weakness that doesn't belong to our soul's journey, it drains the shit out of us. So please don't teach your kids to do that. And for those of you that are feeling drained, trying to improve your weaknesses, that's probably why society teaches us that. Identify where you aren't as good and improve at that. You know, where are your weaknesses and get better? I say observe the masses and do the opposite. So observe, instead of observing or identifying what your weaknesses are, identify what your strengths are, identify what you get right and do more of it. And that expands your life and it gives you fulfillment and so many other payoffs. So this is where we say to our own child, we don't say, oh, well, I think you probably should try a bit harder and maybe you could get that up to a C too. It's not for you to make that. Your child does not belong to you. They're not a possession. They're not yours. You are just the portal that they use to come to this human experience. But this is their life. And if you want to be a conscious parent, then provide a space to let them work out their own life. Is that important to me? Does it matter to me that I got a D? Does it matter to me if I fail? Yeah, well, I don't want to fail because that's my character. That's my attitude. Okay, well, what do you need to do here? How could we adjust your attitude, or what support or help could you get to be able to achieve just the grade that you want without having to overextend your effort in that area without getting return? Because you teach your children about investment. The only good investment is one that pays dividends, the one that gives you a greater return than what you invested. So if you're going to invest your time and energy over here and it gives you nothing in return because there's no fulfillment, there's no passion, there's no interest, there's no engagement, then you're not getting any return. That would be a bad investment. If you were making a money investment right there, that would be bad. Okay? So let's not teach our kids to bloody negative gear all their properties. Let's teach them how to make money, or let's teach them how to get returns on investments. Returns on investments. And that comes down to finances, it comes down to relationships, it comes down to attitude. So many things are an investment. Okay? So this is where you say, well, does it matter to you? Like, where does it matter to you? What is it you would like to do about that? Because if you don't want to do anything about that, that's perfectly okay. And if you, and it can support them in that decision, because making a conscious choice to not try to improve that grade so that they've got that extra energy and time and effort and attention and psyche and headspace available to invest getting their B up to an A because that's something they actually care about, that's something that actually turns them on and, gives them a feeling of ecstatic aliveness, then great, that's how you should do life. And ultimately we are setting our children up to do life. Okay, so when it comes to, not getting the best grades and things like that, first of all, I want to say something on grades. And I learned this from a school teacher, and I love it, and I want to share it with you. And Danielle Keller, I'm going to say your name because it's bloody amazing, and thank you for sharing. And she said how, instead of calling it like, an A, a B, a C, a D, Danny's a school teacher, but she's also an extremely conscious parent. She's one of the, I guess you could say, the experts or the leaders in our private community, the online program Conscious Community Group. And she's always offering a lot of value in conversations and comments in that group. And something that she offered to the parent that asked this question was, to say a C is something you're doing easy and a D is something that's challenging you. And I absolutely, I love that. I agree with that. So, an A is something that is, it's coming natural to you. There's probably some passion and some attitude involved in getting that A. So an A is something that's totally natural for you and you've got passion for. So if it's not quite so natural, you make up for it with attitude and passion. A B is something you do easy. A C just means comfortable. C means you're doing it comfortably. Like, you're not the best at it, you're not the worst, you do it comfortably. D means you're challenged. E means you need support. It just means you need extra help. That's all that means. And so instead of getting fixed on the letters, we can interpret those letters in a different way, okay? And, the whole good, excellent, satisfactory thing, it's all somebody's evaluation. It's somebody's opinion. And that's the part we want to break. It's okay to be proud of getting A's and to want to get A's. I'm not saying that you should create a scenario where your kids never care about their grades because grades don't define me and that's all. You should care. You should care about how your report reflects who you are. That's what I've said to my kids. Care about how this reflects who you are. But don't get stuck and don't be attached to somebody else's opinion. If their opinion or the grades on this report is no reflection of who you show up as in class, let it go and let that be that person's baggage, their journey, their problem. Now, when kids are comparing themselves to each other, to their siblings, to their friends, this is where you bring in, if you followed me for a while, you've heard me talk about this a lot, around the fairness versus sameness, okay? Fairness is not sameness. Different people have different needs. Different people have different gifts. Different souls are on different journeys. And so that's where you bring into here when you talk about everybody gets their chance to shine. And we need to celebrate and be excited for the fact that your sister, it's not about the A. She got the grade she was going for. She achieved what she set herself out to do. Regardless of whether that was a D or an A, the same level of celebration happens for that as what happens over here for something you achieved. But today's her turn to shine. Let her shine. Celebrate with her. And that's exactly what happens, that when you plant all these seeds, the child who isn't being celebrated today, they don't sit back seeing themselves as less than the other person because of the fact that this person is shining and right now this is not my moment. When you plant the seeds deep enough, this child knows, today's not my chance to shine, but I get my chance. I know what I shine at. I know when I walk on the footy field on Saturday, that's where I shine. I know that when I go to dance tonight, I'll shine. I know whatever it might be that it is that they are doing, that's where I get to shine. And so me showing up here, a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. That's something I've always taught my kids. A candle loses nothing. If I take this candle and I light this candle with it, guess what? Both candles are lit. This candle didn't go out in order for this one to light up. This candle was able to light hundreds of candles without losing its own flame. So I tell them, be the candle. Okay? So bring all these principles in and talk about resilience and go, yep, clearly, you literally, I've got to the point now where I can say, yep, you might suck at that. Oh, well, it's all right to suck. And that's the end of our conversation. Now, you don't want to say that to your child if they haven't got the solid self-esteem in place to be able to go, oh, you told me I suck. Obviously, it's all said in a certain context. But make that your goal to get to there. Go, okay, well, you clearly thrive here. You clearly got some challenges there, and you're working hard there. That's all that matters to me. How are you feeling about that? Is there something that hits you out of this? What is it that you do care about? And where could I support you? Is there anything you do want to improve on? Is there a conversation that we could open with your teacher? And don't go do it for them, but help them do it. Like my daughter now, my 14-year-old, she goes and speaks to every single teacher, so like it's so natural, so normal to do. If she gets any grade that she doesn't like, and it's not because she's trying to change the grade, she genuinely wants the feedback. And there have been times where she absolutely disagrees with that grade and has had the grade change once she makes her point to that teacher. And these are life skills, okay? This is like, hang on a minute, I'm not going to let you say that I'm worth a B when I know, and I can prove to you that I'm worth an A over there or whatever it might be, okay? And so stand for that. So go and have a conversation. Maybe it'll change, maybe it won't. But one day in life's going to give you a scenario like this. And you're going to be going for a promotion at work, and the promotion's going to get given to someone else. And you're going to be like, hang on, I actually know that I'm the right person. So don't sit back and be resentful. Own your life. Go and talk to the boss. Get feedback. Why didn't I get it? What can I do to get it next time? Or, go, hey, I really think you've made the wrong decision, and I'm objecting to that. Okay? The other thing is really helping our children know about this internal guidance system and how our soul uses what we're good at and what we're passionate about as a way to guide us through life. It's like our soul says, I can't let you be good at this because you'll continue on the wrong path if you enjoy this path too much. And where that becomes really important in allowing our children to make choices around, well, I don't care about that subject, so I'm not going to try and do better at it. That's okay. You know where that really transfers in their adult life is when they're in a situation, many of you might even be in yourselves, where you're at work and you're like, you know what, I don't like what I do. I hate going to work. I sit in the car park with a knot in my stomach every morning, not wanting to walk into the car park because I just not liking it. Okay, so then leave. So you've got two choices. Either put some effort in and change the situation, improve yourself, go and talk to the boss, go and have some courageous conversations, whatever might be required for you to improve that environment or improve your performance if you're getting performance reviews that hurt you. Or don't put effort in there and go find a different path. That's the same principle as the child going, well, I might have got a D for art, but do I care about art? No, I'm a maths and science kind of brain. Or I got a D in maths. Okay, I want to show up with my character and my attitude, but does it matter? Like, is that my path? No. So I'm happy. It's okay with me that I got a D. It's okay because it's a choice, and I don't want to invest more of my time to get that up to a C, because what the effort that would take from me is going to drain me. And instead, I'd rather use the effort over here, amplifying, magnifying, and multiplying that energy, because I put it into my passion and I put it in somewhere else. And that's it's teaching our children the principles of fulfillment and of your soul's journey. And I always talk about, not many people can do this. You look at all the adults, you notice how many adults do this. So you want to bring in concepts around not many people can do this. Not many people can let other people shine when it's not their turn to shine. Because there's an innate instinct in all of us to be the different one, to be the one that's not like everyone else. So bringing these little seeds into your conversations about how, I'll give you an example. Look at all the adults. You've got to have courage sometimes to say, I'm not going to do this any longer. And I know it's a big decision. And I know I've worked hard at it for 3 years, but I'm going to drop that subject and not do it anymore, because, it's like the child that goes to uni thinking they want to be an accountant, and then they become an accountant and they freaking hate it. Oh, but I've just spent 4 years of uni. So what? You're 23 years old. Please leave. I don't care if you spent 30 grand on that. I don't care if you spent 10 years doing that. When you end up finding out that that's not that, it doesn't mean you made a wrong choice. You made the right choice for that moment in time. And the path has led you to realize this is no longer the right choice. Please, I don't care how old you are, what you've done, what it's cost, leave. It's like, it's like and you tell this to your children, it's like the adults who stay in a job they hate, who literally resent and hate their lives for 40 hours a week. They hate what they do just because they get some more money there. And then there's the person who goes, do you know what? Yeah, I mean, it was good money being an accountant, but I just didn't enjoy it. I just love my music. I love piano teaching. And so I'm just gonna go into music. And yeah, I earn less money, but I just love what I do. And I feel so alive. Like, this is the path you follow in life. Do not program your kids for this path over here. They end up being unhappy adults, and guess what unhappy adults produce? They produce unhappy families, unhappy children. They project all their wounds and their triggers onto everyone around them, and the toxicity of living a life you don't love leaks into your relationships and to all areas of your life, and it destroys you on the inside. So these moments of school reports are moments for us to be able to plant these seeds and give this guidance to our children. And look, I'm going to say this because it's so important for you as a parent to really know your own values. And it's funny because values are the topic of this week for me. I'm actually running a 3-hour online workshop this Sunday night. It's $49. So Sunday the 10th of July, just in case you're watching this replay later and it won't be on. But this Sunday, so if you don't know your values, or if you're not sure that your values really are your values and they're not the values that you got programmed with, and you're actually thinking you're living your values, but the reason your life isn't flowing and it doesn't feel free is because you're living a set of values that don't belong to you. If you want to make sure you know that the values you live by, I say that values are the threads that we use to weave the fabric of our lives. Values are the threads that we use to weave the fabric of our life. And if the threads that you use are full of resentment, and they're full of, unfulfillment and, resistance and having to force yourself to do things, what kind of fabric are you weaving? So if you feel like that's something that you need to give attention to, so that you also, once you know the difference of knowing your soul's values versus your programmed values that were imposed on you, once you know that, so much opens for you, and you easily can hold that space for your children. Like, you know what you want your children to feel, and it's so much easier to not go imposing your values on them, and instead every time there's an opportunity, you notice it and you open the conversation for, well, what's your value here? I mean, for me personally, I'd handle that situation like this, but you're a different person to me, and you shouldn't live by my values. I'm a naturally confrontational person. I'm okay with courageous conversation and opening it up, and I'm also okay with arguments. But if that's not who you are, then don't do it my way. How would you like to do this? What feels right for you about this? What decision do you want to make based on your school report? Because if it doesn't matter to you, it doesn't matter to me. All that matters to me is your own alignment and you having awareness of the choices you're making. So if you choose to continue, because ultimately you can't control them anyway, all you're going to do is, by giving them consequences and being disappointed with them, is cause disconnection. They're just going to see you as a threat. You're not a safe place. And so they'll start shutting down. And, while they're young, you can control them. But 10 years old and above, by the time they're 12, all the parents come to me, come do my online program saying, I feel like I've lost them. I feel like it's too hard to get them back. They don't even want to hang out in the lounge room. They just want to sit in their room every minute of every day on their iPads so that they can disengage with being around me. And so, if that's happening for you, please start with knowing your values so that you can create a space for your child to really reveal their own values as they go through life. So that workshop's running this week. If you do want to come to that, go to the website www.theholyeffect.info/personal values, and you can book your spot. It's 3 hours, like I said, all online, all done by Zoom. You will get the replay, so if you can't attend live, don't worry, you'll get the replay and you can do it just the same, and it comes with a free values workbook and everything so that you can do it even if you do it by yourself. So I'm going to close this conversation up here for today, but talk to your children and open these conversations and use them as opportunities to embed lifelong principles that they can use to be able to really build and find their sense of self, their relationship to themselves, and their relationship in relation to the world around them, and let them understand that your report is nothing other than your teacher's perspective and opinion. And that matters a whole lot less to me than your perspectives and your opinions. And while we can take that into account, and we might use it as feedback, and you might use it, when you read things, notice how it triggers you, notice if it disappoints you, because that's your soul talking to you. That's your soul helping you go, oh, that's bullshit, that's so not true. Okay, let it go then. But if your soul is like, oh my gosh, I'm so disappointed by that, like I really am, I'm so shocked by that. Okay, well, that's your soul saying this area of your life needs some attention. So give it some attention. And it's okay to want to improve and to need some help and to have a bit of a reality check sometime and go, hey, your attitude's slipping a little bit maybe your effort's slipping, maybe how you're choosing to show up is slipping. And it's not about getting the good grade, it's about how you choose to show up in life really builds your sense of who you are. So it's easy to show up, as our best selves when we're doing something we love and everything's easy and we get good grades and we get compliments and validation. It's a whole lot harder to show up as our best selves in a challenging situation. It's easy to be up when you're up. It's a whole lot harder to be up when you're down. And life is going to give you lots of those scenarios. It's not just going to be at school. It's going to happen in your friendships, in your relationships, in your career, when you become a parent one day. So use this now as a way to build the blueprint that they will use to live their lives by later on. As I always say, this kind of parenting, it takes courage. It takes a whole lot of courage to look at ourselves, look at our own triggers, look at how we're imposing, different aspects of ourselves and projecting them onto our children. It takes courage to confront that and to sit with that and to make room to adjust that. So please, if there's anything I could wish for your life and for every parent and every child, it's courage. Depart from here today with courage. The courage to believe in a better way. The courage to voice what you've got to say, the courage to thrive when times are tough, and above all else, the courage to know you are good enough.